Welcome to another Lumion 8 live stream tutorial. I am Chris Welton of CweltonDesign, and in this topic we're going to cover the new round or softened hard edges feature in Lumion 8. So let's go ahead and jump into Lumion and take a look at this new feature. So really quick, I'm going to show it and start to explain a little bit more about it and how we're going to find some use. So first off, we're in an example scene here in Lumion. I'm going to take, let's take this corner concrete right here. Now we could pick any material in here or a standard material. So in this case, let's just go ahead and go with a concrete on this concrete, one of the new polygon ones. Okay. So now selecting this material, everywhere where there's edges that have this material painted on it, that's what we're going to affect. So it works by material. And notice that we have perfect, crisp, and fake edges here. That's definitely not something that occurs in real life. So here in the material editor, if you don't see these tabs down here, there's a little show extended settings here. Make sure that's clicked, and we're going to head over to the little clock. It says weathering. And although we can weather like we have been able to since Lumion 7, let's get the scale down a little bit on there. That looks good. The slider right here for edges is right below. They just kind of put that in there, and you are seeing the effect. Let's take a look at those circles where the snap ties go. So that's the effect. Now I'm going to talk about why this is so important and why this has really impressed me, and I'm going to be using it all the time. So I'm going to take a look at an article here. So when I first started getting into rendering in Lumion, I looked up plenty of these articles that talked about how to increase photorealism in your projects, and a lot of them say very similar things. And what you're going to notice on almost all of them, and in this case this is the first choice on their list, is you need to remove sharp edges. You know, it says bevel, bevel, bevel. You know, whether we round edges, whether we chant for them, whatever we need to do to make sure it's not a perfect crisp edge or razor sharp edge, because as it says here, there are no razor sharp edges in nature, and everything has some sort of curve to it. And so that's something that sets really high quality renderings apart. You know, modeling things in Revit and SketchUp, oftentimes we're going to have those edges just by default, like our walls. But if you want to take it to the next level of photorealism, it's one of those things that I used to have to do in my workflow. So I'm going to show really quick an example in SketchUp, what I mainly use, of how beneficial this is. So I'm going to go ahead and create just a really quick mock wall here. Alright, so there's our wall. I'm going to copy it and have the copy right here. So I'm going to keep that one exactly how we'd have it. And you know, our projects look like this. They're going to have these perfect edges, and we've just kind of lived with that. And what I've had to do to kind of get that next step when I have time is I use a tool here called Round Corner in SketchUp, and then I've had to use void extrusions and other things in Revit to get the same effect. And I'm going to go so much. By doing that, I get round edges, round corners, and that's a little bit extreme. Maybe I can do just something like as small as and subtle as this. Just that little bit can add just that extra bit of photorealism on objects, because you take a look at a corner wall, it's not perfect, it's sharp, everything is rounded. But the drawback is by using this method, I've created much more polygons. So all geometry just gets heavier and heavier. You know, this has 6 sides on it, 6 polygons, 6 faces, and this has probably hundreds, thousands. So you can see how this becomes a problem on projects, and it's been a problem with me. Some things I think are worth it, personally, in my renderings. But let's go ahead and import this into Lumion, and I can show you now how we can replicate this without really losing any frames or any time with this new effect. That's going to hopefully show an example of the power of this. So I have that saved. Let's just go over here, get in some good sunlight, and I'm going to import those walls. There we are, a little bigger than I expected. Okay, so I'm going to try to move a little bit more smoother here. So I'm going to apply another material. Let's just do another concrete. Sure, that'll do. So here's our rounded edges, our chamfered edges that we did in SketchUp. So definitely looks much more realistic than this. Super sharp. I mean, that could be a weapon. I mean, that's not something you'd want to brush against. So, but with the edges slider here, all of a sudden, it's not the case anymore. It does not look at all like it did before. And you can go pretty extreme, and when you start getting really extreme, you start to notice, you know, that it's a fake effect. This is what I want to point out. The geometry, Lumion has not done anything to the geometry. That is still a hard edge. It did not add any polygons. It's very much like a normal map. Just as a normal map can tweak the lighting to make a flat surface, you know, like this concrete right here looks super rough, or I should say super textured. This is a way of tricking the light to soften around the edges. So a very good job on Lumion's end. And this, you know, this is hundreds, maybe even 1,000 or so polys, and this is 6 polys still. So just as we did it to any one of our old projects, we can jump on here and round these edges, and we can just get that extra bit of realism in our projects that much easier. And that's Lumion's goal. That's Lumion's mission, is to make these things easier for us, to make our workflows quicker without bogging them down with more and more detail. So I'm going to import one other object here and kind of show this off. I actually, on my last project, I came across this ability in Benefit. Oops, let's see. So this is some really squared, real basic furniture from SketchUp, and I got some furniture that looked a lot like this from Revit, with some really blocky pillows, and this effect made a huge difference on it. You know, there's some leather put on here. Let's change something else on here. I don't know. Let's try that. You know what? I want to point out too, lighting is crucial. I mean, if there's not the right kind of lighting on it, you're not going to see the effect. So just be cautious of that. Sometimes lighting won't reveal it the way you want. I've tried this a couple times on other objects, and I'm like, oh, it's not working anymore. But it really has to do with the lighting. So just check that. And if you're not seeing the edges when you want to, try adjusting the lighting at a different angle. So let's go ahead and round the edges there, and you know, this really blocky furniture has gotten a lot smoother. There's that effect before after, although it's making our buttons a little weird. That's really an issue of how we divide our materials in SketchUp. But you're seeing it right there. That's the power. That's what it's done right here, and it made some blocky, low quality furniture in Revit actually look halfway decent without having to do any extra work. So anyways, that is the round edges effect. there's probably countless things you can think of now that'll really help. That this can really help and benefit. Remember, this does nothing to performance really, and it's easy as selecting the weathering tab and sliding this. So these changes are very much welcome in the new Lumion versions. I love these little extra things. I think it might have come from before it was able to detect edges. Oops. Like on wood, if you went high enough, you see how it detected the edges. I think they just refined that. They saw that potential there, refined it, and so we're the beneficiaries of that. This wonderful effect. So alright, that covers everything on this effect I wanted to go over. Subscribe and like this video if you want to see more content like this, and feel free to leave a comment for any future topics you'd like me to cover in the future. And thanks for watching, and until next time, guys.